If you really want to change your life in 6 months, the first thing you need to do isn't adding more, it's subtracting. Most people stay stuck not because they lack talent, time, or motivation, but because they're drowning in noise, mental noise, emotional noise, digital noise. They've got 10 browser tabs open in their mind at all times, trying to chase clarity in a fog of distraction. And in that kind of environment, discipline doesn't stand a chance. Focus doesn't stand a chance. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. Your potential is being suffocated by the things you allow to occupy your space. So here's where it starts. You eliminate, you strip it back. You get honest about what's taking up space in your brain that isn't helping you build the life you say you want. That means asking hard questions. What apps are stealing your time without giving anything back? What conversations are draining you instead of challenging you? What inputs are shaping your mindset? And are those inputs making you sharper or softer? You can't expect to think clearly when you're feeding your mind garbage. You can't expect to feel calm when you're constantly bombarded with stimulation. This is the mistake most people make when they say they want to change. They try to add new habits on top of a broken operating system. It's like trying to sprint while dragging chains, and then they wonder why they burn out. It's not that they're not capable. It's that they haven't cleared the space for their potential to breathe. Now, here's what happens when you start to eliminate the noise. Your brain begins to reorganize itself. You give your nervous system room to slow down. You let your focus sharpen naturally. The fog starts to lift, and in that clarity, something incredible happens. Direction emerges. You stop being pulled in 10 different directions and start moving with power in one. And once you know where you're going, the brain gets to work. It begins to wire itself for that target. Neurons fire differently. Attention locks in. Identity starts to shift. But that process only begins when you create the space for it. That's why the most powerful people are often the most intentional about what they let in. Their input is clean. Their time is guarded. Their mental space is protected like a fortress. It's not because they're cold or rigid. It's because they understand something most people ignore. Clarity is earned through subtraction. You don't find it by doing more. You find it by doing less better. So give yourself the gift of silence, of space, of removal. Turn down the volume of the world so you can hear what actually matters. Because the foundation for the next 6 months isn't built on noise. It's built on precision. And if you're willing to create that, everything else becomes possible. If you're serious about changing your life in 6 months, there's one thing you need to understand. Your nervous system is either working for you or against you. Most people are trying to create a new life while stuck in a state of survival. Anxious, overstimulated, reactive, burned out, and then they wonder why they keep hitting a wall. You can't build clarity, focus, or consistency on top of chronic stress. You can't create a new reality if your brain is locked into the patterns of fear, urgency, or exhaustion. So the real shift starts here, learning how to turn your nervous system into your strongest ally, not your greatest liability. See, your nervous system is the operating system beneath everything you think, feel, and do. When it's overloaded, when it's inflamed, when it's constantly in fight or flight, it hijacks your ability to think long-term. Your vision narrows. Your decision-making suffers. You chase quick relief instead of meaningful progress. And no amount of productivity hacks will fix that. Because the problem isn't your willpower, it's your internal state. This is why the most powerful changes don't start in the mind. They start in the body. You have to teach your system how to come back to safety. You have to create experiences where your body learns. We're not in danger. We can focus. We can move forward. That's how you shift the baseline from survival to strength. It doesn't have to take hours. It takes intentional reps, a few minutes of breath work, cold exposure that shocks your system just enough to train calm under stress, walking without your phone, deep stillness before the day begins. These aren't trends. They're tools to recondition your biology, because here's what happens when your nervous system calms your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles decision-making, planning, impulse control. comes back online. You stop operating from urgency and start operating from vision. You stop reacting and start responding. And from there, you build real discipline, not the kind that's powered by hype, but the kind that's grounded in awareness. That's the edge. You can't avoid stress. Life doesn't work that way. But you can train how you respond to it. You can wire yourself to stay centered while the world speeds up. That's a different kind of strength. It's not flashy. It's not loud, but it's the reason some people stay consistent, stay calm, and keep rising when others burn out. They've trained their nervous system to hold the weight. So if you're going to give yourself 6 months to change everything, start with the foundation. Regulate before you execute. Modulating. Calm the system before you chase the goal. Because once your internal world is aligned, your external results start to follow fast. And you'll realize the version of you've been trying to become was always there, just waiting for you to create the conditions to bring it out. Most people set goals like they're casting wishes into the air, hoping that one day, with enough motivation, something will finally click. But here's the truthing: motivation fades, energy dips. Life gets messy. And if your only plan is to stay motivated, you're already setting yourself up to fail. Real change doesn't come from goals. It comes from systems, because systems don't care how you feel. Systems don't need hype. Systems run even when you don't want to. That's where the transformation lies, not in tension, but in structure. You can want to change your life all day long, but if your habits don't support that change, nothing sticks. The brain doesn't rewire because of a goal you set once. It rewires through what you do repeatedly. Every habit is like a vote for the identity you're building. And the more consistent those votes, the more locked in that identity becomes. That's not philosophy. That's neuroplasticity. You don't rise to your ambitions. You fall to your systems. So if you want to change everything in 6 months, stop trying to summon more willpower and start engineering your days. Ask yourself, what actions am I repeating that reinforce the old me? What behaviors can I automate that reflect who I'm becoming? Don't just write down the goal. Reverse engineer the lifestyle. If you want to be focused, design your day for focus. If you want to be strong, make strength a non-negotiable. If you want to lead, show up like a leader every morning before anyone's watching. That consistency is what rewires the internal narrative. It's not about overhauling everything overnight. It's about building systems that you can sustain, routines that run whether you feel inspired or not. Start small, but start relentlessly. Stack behaviors. Anchor them to moments in your day. Put friction between you and your distractions. Build momentum with micro wins. The brain doesn't care how big your move is. It only cares how often you repeat it. And once those patterns lock in, you'll find yourself doing what used to feel hard almost automatically. This is how you create discipline without the drama. You're not wrestling with yourself every day. You're building a structure that makes success easier and failure harder. You're reducing decision fatigue. You're conserving mental energy. You're setting yourself up to win before the day even begins. That's the difference between people who hope for results and people who create them. One is reacting, the other is designing. So give yourself 6 months, not to chase another goal, but to build the systems that make goals inevitable. Don't just try harder, think smarter, because once the structure is in place, the discipline becomes effortless and your results stop being random. They become automatic, and that's when everything starts to change for good. If you want to change everything in 6 months, you need to take control of what drives you, not just your schedule, not just your habits, your drive. And that means you've got to understand dopamine, not as a buzzword, but as the fuel behind every action you take. Most people have no idea how much of their life is shaped by it. They chase distractions, quick rewards, instant gratification, and they wonder why they can't stay focused, why they burn out, why discipline always feels like a fight. The problem isn't that they lack discipline. It's that they've trained their brain to expect dopamine from escape, not from effort. Dopamine isn't just a reward chemical. It's a motivation signal. It tells your brain what to pursue. And when you constantly get hits from scrolling, snacking, binging, numbing, you're rewiring your brain to avoid challenge and chase ease. So even when I want to do something meaningful, your nervous system resists it. It doesn't feel good. It feels flat. That's because the reward system has been hijacked. It's firing in the wrong direction. And if you don't take back control of that loop modulating, you'll keep abandoning the very actions that would build the life you say you want. But here's the good news. The loop can be rewired. You can train your brain to release dopamine from effort, not escape. You can literally shift your baseline to crave discipline, not distraction. And it starts with one decision: delay the reward. Delay the scroll, delay the snack, delay the entertainment until after the work is done. That one move, consistently applied, teaches your brain a powerful lesson: reward follows effort, not the other way around. And the next layer, celebrate the process, not just the wins, not just the finished product, while you're doing the hard thing. Whether it's writing, training, studying, grinding, talk to yourself like this is the moment that matters, because it is when the brain is learning. This is when identity is being shaped. This is when the chemistry is shifting. Don't just endure the effort. Attach meaning to it. Wire pride into it. That's how you flip the switch. It's not about suppressing dopamine. It's about redirecting it. You can still enjoy things. You can still relax. But now you've earned it, powerfully modulating. Now it lands differently. It feels aligned. And over time, something wild happens. You start to crave the work. You start to chase the challenge. You stop needing external motivation because your reward system is now built into your discipline. And that's the edge. Most people are chasing motivation when they should be training their neurochemistry. Because once your brain links effort to reward, everything shifts. You become consistent, not because it's easy, but because it feels right. And 6 months from now, you won't just be more productive. You'll be reprogrammed. If you're going to change everything in 6 months, your environment can't be working against you. Most people underestimate just how much their surroundings shape their behavior. They think discipline is only about internal drive, willpower, mindset. But the truth is, your environment is constantly whispering to your brain, guiding your focus, reinforcing your habits, shaping your identity, whether you're aware of it or not. And if your space is full of distractions, clutter, temptations, and cues from the old version of you, then that's the identity your brain is going to keep firing toward. You don't rise above your environment. You fall to the level of it. So if you want to build a new life, you have to turn your surroundings into a silent partner in your success, something that nudges you forward, supports your intentions, and quietly reinforces the new patterns you're trying to build. It's not about making things perfect. It's about making them you deliberate. Start by looking around. What's visible? What's grabbing your attention without your permission? Is it your phone on your nightstand, buzzing before your feet even hit the floor? Is it junk food in plain sight, stealing your energy? Is it a desk piled with chaos that subconsciously tells you you're behind? These things may seem small, but they stack up fast. They prime your brain to default to distraction, to comfort, to autopilot. Now flip it. What would it look like if your space reflected who you're becoming, not who you've been? What if the first thing you saw in the morning was your written goals, not someone else's opinions on a screen? What if your workspace invited focus? Clean, organized, distraction-free, so your brain didn't have to waste energy just trying to settle down? What if your environment wasn't passive, but intentional, a physical extension of the mindset you're locking in? This is how real behavior change becomes sustainable. You make the right choice easier to access. You remove the friction between you and your future. You don't have to be a productivity machine. You just need to stop tripping over the same distractions day after day, because the more friction you remove, the less energy you spend resisting. That's how discipline becomes less of a fight and more of a flow. Even the smallest shifts can make a huge difference. Move the phone out of the room. Lay your workout clothes out the night before. Keep a clean slate on your desk. Use visual anchors. Post-it notes. Daily affirmations, a list of non-negotiables to keep your goals in your line of sight. Turn your space into a silent coach that's always nudging you in the right direction, modulating. Because the environment you build will either reinforce your past or accelerate your future. And when it's aligned with your vision, modulating. When it's stripped of friction, when it speaks the same language as your goals. When real transformation doesn't just feel possible, it becomes inevitable. If you want to change everything in 6 months, it's not going to come from one big leap. It's not going to happen because of some massive breakthrough or a perfect day where everything aligns. It's going to come from stacking wins over and over, modulating quietly, relentlessly. You don't need more hype, more pressure, or more perfection. What you need is momentum. And momentum is built from doing the small things with absolute consistency, especially when no one's watching. Every time you follow through, even on the tiniest commitment, you're sending a message to your brain: I finish what I start. I keep my word. I move forward even when it's inconvenient. That's not just behavior. That's identity. And once that identity starts to lock in, everything changes. Your brain stops looking for the easy way out and starts expecting progress. You stop negotiating with your excuses because you've proven repeatedly that action is the default. The problem most people have is they wait for big moments to prove they're serious. They wait until they feel ready, or they wait for a grand opportunity to prove themselves. But that's not how change works. Change is built in the repetition, in the quiet, in the quiet. In the mundane, it's waking up and making your bed, showing up for the workout when you don't feel like it, finishing that 10-minute task you said you'd do, taking the extra second to breathe instead of reacting. Those ones don't seem flashy, but they compound faster than you can imagine. And the reason this matters so much is because every win you stack adds weight to your identity. Every time you follow through, you build a track record with yourself. That self-trust becomes the foundation for long-term discipline, because let's be honest, when the pressure's on, when things get chaotic, when doubt shows up, you're not going to rise to the level of your ambition. You're going to fall to the level of your habits. And if those habits are wired into who you believe you are, you don't have to fake discipline. You are discipline. This is what separates people who talk about changing their lives from the ones who actually do it. It's not about motivation. It's not about having some perfect plan. It's about proving to yourself every single day that you can show up and execute, even in a small way, especially in a small way. And when you do that for 6 months, day in, day out, your brain won't even recognize the old version of you anymore. Because the game was never about how hard you could go for 1 week. It was about how many days you could finish what you started, how many wins you could stack, how many times you could choose action over excuse. Do that, and 6 months from now, modulating, you'll look in the mirror and see someone who doesn't hope for results. You'll see someone who creates them.